considering that injuries have been the thing, we're going to hit on the Clippers real quick. Do they have a shot if Kawhi Leonard does not play a game this series?
Well, I mean, game one would say yes to have at least a shot.
Or do you think it's likely that they can win this series if you do not have Kawhi Leonard at 80% of himself? Well, let's say this. He ain't playing if he's just 80%. Right. He only playing if he's like damn near close to full strength.
I don't know. I would say, I wouldn't say that. I would say, like, here's the thing. Like, I was talking about this with one of my producers earlier. Like, Kawhi Leonard has become the poster child for load management and, like, particularly fan ire towards load management. When in reality, Kawhi Leonard has been like one of the most injured players over the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's not sitting out because he doesn't feel like playing. He's sitting out because he's hurt. And there's no better example of this than, Vinny, I know you know this. I know this. I'm going to go ahead and spill the beans. I don't know why we all kept this thing a secret for years. But in the 2021 playoffs, in the conference semis, Kawhi gets hurt against Utah. I believe it was game 1 or game 2. And then doesn't play the rest of that series. And doesn't play the conference finals against the Suns. Every game, the Clippers listed him as like questionable or day-to-day, and then we had to get updates. Is Kawhi going to play? We'll see. And then, oh, yeah, he can't go. He had a torn ACL. He was never going to play. They knew it the moment it happened.
Mm-hmm.
But we played this game, and no one reported it. I don't know, out of deference or what it was. I don't do it because I'm not a reporter. But like, like people are like, you think Kawhi's going to play? I'm like, no, he's not playing again. Well, they say listed him as maybe. I'm like, there's no maybe. I don't know if it's gamesmanship or whatever.
Right.
But I think stuff like that, which has happened through the years for Kawhi Leonard, well, I guess the intention was to protect him and like not let on how hurt he really is. But it's done the opposite. It's made people skeptical anytime he sits out. So, for instance, he's been out the last couple of weeks of the season with I can't pronounce the word tendinopathy. I don't know how to say it.
Let's just say inflammation. Let's just say that.
Inflammation. There you go. People all took that to, they're locked in as a 4 or 5. They're resting him. Like, no, he's hurt. He can't play. And so get to game 1 and he can't play. Now, to answer your question, if he doesn't play, let's not say if he's 80%, because I think if Kawhi Leonard can play, he's going to play.
Right.
But if he doesn't play, can they win this series? Absolutely. That's why you go out and get a James Harden. So that for these situations, it's like, what if we can't go? Well, then we got another guy here. And I think him and Paul George and Russ being the bench guy, like they're enough. They're enough to beat the Mavericks. Now, having said that, I had Mavericks in 7 to start the series. So I'm already telling on myself that like, this is a very closely matched series.
Right.
But the reality is, I think the Clippers can weather not having Kawhi out there on the floor. Now, how long can they weather it? We'll see. They already got 1 game. You know, every game they win, that buys them a little bit more time for him to continue to rehab.
And that's what I was thinking. That's because the players have been told Wednesday that Kawhi wasn't playing. We weren't told until game time. But Ty Lue, who I think is right up there with Spo as far as the best coaches in the league, Ty Lue knew these guys have to be prepared to know that Kawhi is not coming to save them. That we have to basically look at it as if Kawhi comes, cool, that's helpful. But James, you need to have your mind right. Paul, you need to have your mind right. You guys are going to get more touches. We have to play a total different style without Kawhi Leonard on the floor. And the other thing with Kawhi, that dude is a walking medical chart. Like, I'm shocked that by the end of, I think his extension kicks in next year, right? He will have squeezed out 16 years on a bad body. Like, we don't think of Kawhi as having bad body, but he has bad body, man.
Terrible. Yeah, terrible body. Like, I still go back to
2019.
The finals, 2019. He's dragging. His leg is literally dragging.
He's dragging.
He won that championship on one leg. It's one of the gutsiest playoff runs. I'm not talking about like finals, because you got to start in the Philly series. Is when it gets that game 7 where everybody was scared to shoot. Fred VanVleet was on a milk carton, and Pascal Siakam was just a scared little kid, and Kawhi was like, "F it, give me the ball," and he was jumping about like an inch off the floor of every one of those shots. Like it started there, and then conference finals against the Bucks, finals against the Warriors. This dude was dragging his leg, Vinny. He's been
and been dragging that leg ever since.
Ever since.
Let's be perfectly honest. He's been dragging that leg. I think the problem with Kawhi was the thing that happened with the Spurs, and everybody trusts the Spurs as an organization. Mm-hmm. So when it was like, oh, you betrayed this organization, that means that you're not actually hurting.
Right.
I'm very careful about getting inside somebody's body and telling them that they not hurt. When these dudes are conditioned to playing basketball.
I said it in 2019. The Spurs, the most secretive organization that we have, right? Run by a guy an Air Force graduate that wanted to go to the CIA, learned Russian, right? That's the organization we're talking about in terms of level of secrecy and like us against the world and all that stuff. We were getting weekly updates. And Tony said, I had the same injury and I came back like, I'm sorry. Like they put out a smear campaign to make him look bad, to shame him basically into playing, even though multiple times he had been cleared to play on different injuries. He came back and either re-aggravated or wasn't healthy. And so there was a level from the Kawhi Leonard camp with fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, fool me, you ain't gonna fool me. Shout out to President Bush, right? And at that point, like he said, I'm going to only play when my body says I'm ready to play. And he got vilified for it and villainized for it. And that has carried with him everywhere else. And I think you're right. It's because the source of the smear was an organization that people held and I think continue to hold in high esteem.
Yeah,
they're good guys. They would never do that, right?
Mm-hmm. No, they wouldn't. And it's just weird that the Spurs will be rewarded with Victor Wembanyama. But, you know, that's life be lifing sometimes. Last thing on this series. It looked like, from Ty Lue's perspective, not just James Harden turning back the clock, because we know that thing can go in a million different directions over the course of a series, right?
Yeah.
But defensively on Luka and Kyrie, it was, I don't respect anybody else that is out here shooting. And it's like, oh, not that necessarily going to sell out on those two guys, but they're not going to overreact to anything. Nobody else scored in double figures for the Mavs. And that looks like Ty's strategy is we're going to make life difficult as hell for Kyrie and Luka, and we're not even worried about the rest of these dudes. And we're going to punish you because you're light as hell on the inside.
Yeah, I mean, and I think some of the kind of the bright lights hit the Clippers. You know, I know Daniel Gafford was talking about, the Mavericks. Daniel Gafford was talking about, I wasn't ready. Mm-hmm. And I know people are like, how could you not be ready? We're like, dude, Daniel Gafford's played in one playoff series in his life for the Wizards. Like,
do that even count? Do that even count if you play for the...
So it's like there's an element of like, again, Luka and Kyrie, sure, they've got a lot of experience. Tim Hardaway Jr. has played in his fair share of playoff games. But like a lot of these guys, PJ Washington, like what the hell does he know about the playoffs, man? And like the level of intensity or whatever. Now, if you're the Mavericks, you say, well, we'll get them up to speed, like, and we'll let our two main guys carry. But like for a lot of these other guys, this is their first time at the rodeo, and that's difficult. The other thing I want to point out, and not to, I don't know, like, I know this is known. I don't know how much of a deal you should make of it. Derek Lively going through a lot in his personal life, man.
Yeah,
and that's something real tough to deal with while you're going through your first playoff series. So I'm not making excuses, but I think what you saw,
that's real
Vinny,
life. That's some real life stuff he's dealing with, man.
These are the things that are happening behind the scenes that do have an impact. You know, rightly or wrongly, it has an impact on how people play and how teams perform.
Yeah, it's and for those who don't know, Derek Lively lost his mother, I think, was it breast cancer?
Yeah.
You know, maybe a week or so before the regular season ended. Like, it's not something you just turn the page and you just, you know, people say the game is a refuge and all that other stuff. That sounds nice. Yeah, man, life comes with you wherever you go, no matter what you're doing. So the Clippers and Mavs, that's just a compelling enough series, but that is a real life story that Derek Lively, their impressive center rookie, that's just something that he's going to have to deal with not just for this series, but for the rest of his life.